because I'm at a better place than I am, than I was a year ago. I'm a lot better with movies. It was part of my therapy when I was in California. The outings are built into the program so that whatever you sit in class and you learn all day, you have the opportunity to apply that in real world time. And then you can bring what you discovered back to class. You can bounce it off the other guys in the class. You can bounce it off the facilitator. And then you can tweak it to a point that it works for you. Because they apply a model. And what that model is to teach you not how to live without whatever it is you're suffering, but they teach you how to live with it and how to be a functioning human being in normal society. And it's not meant to label you. It's not meant for you to be an outcast. You're not a person that's going to be singled out or you're going to stand out in public. You have to learn how to be, as whole as you can. Your 100% that you apply to your day-to-day life is going to be different. Your 100% that you put out today is not going to be the same 100% you put out tomorrow. But you have to be able to get to a point that within a reasonable amount of effort, you can still function. And you can still go out and perform your day-to-day activities and not feel like you're isolated and not feel like you're alone and not feel like you're cut off from the world. And the program that I just came from really did a lot for me in helping me achieve, this particular status. I am a lot better off today than I was this time last year. This time last year I would not even be here. Me and Frankie would be at home in our pajamas. A lot of the outings that I do, I really can't get along without, it's hard to imagine what things would be like without Frankie. She's done a lot for me. She's enabled me to get a piece of my life back. She's helped me to become a little bit more responsible than I used to be. And then in turn, that takes a little bit off of Gina, and she can then do some of the things that she wants to do. She can take off and try and do some of the things that she's aspired. She's given up so much, and she's sacrificed just tremendous that, now I'm happy to be in a mindset that I can really take on some of my own responsibilities and be a bit more of a participator in my life than I was in the past. A year ago, I was the total opposite. I was a spectator. I sat and watched everything go by. I was a huge recluse. I was isolating, and being in front of people was just not going to happen. A trip to Walmart was, no. The best I could do was I would stay in the car. And then, people milling around in the parking lot was not good for me either. And so I just, I couldn't do it. And so the best I could do after that was, I had to bite off what I could chew. And so the worse my situation got, the more desperate I got, the easier for me was to stay home. And it fed twofold for me because, I was afraid for myself, I was afraid for my family, and then I was afraid for the public. Because from my standpoint and from what I've lived over the last 19 years, in a nutshell, I've been trained to hurt people, period. And I'm an A-type personality, so I'm not going to back down simply because you think your feathers are more fluffier than mine. And I had to step back and say, you know, I can't be like this, you know. And I've had people come up and say, look, dude, you're not there anymore. Get over it. And for people who deal with situations, you know, whatever your case may be, whether it's schizophrenia, whether it's bipolar, whether it's clinical depression, you know, for someone to come up to your face and say, get over it, you know, they might as well just pick up a brick and hit you in the head. But that's the kind of stuff we have to live with. And, you know, Gina's told me a million times, we're not going to get any progress unless we get out and talk about our story. And to people who may have, you know, in this room who may have an issue, you know, my advice is to never, ever, ever give up. Don't take no for an answer, you know, and if you can't do what you did yesterday, do what you can. Don't bite off more than you can chew, and take baby steps. You know, you have to take care of yourself, and if you wake up in the morning and you can't do it that day, don't. Extreme self-care. You got to take care of yourself, you know, because, you know, I fear for my single soldiers because, you know, they don't have any support. And then, you know, I look at myself and I'm blessed. I am blessed. To have a wife like Gina and a sister like Christy, you know, I am, wow. You know, God knew what he was doing when he put us together. You know, and I don't have the vocabulary to express my love and my proudness for my wife. You know, she's you know, she's the spouse's spouse. She gets up every day, she puts her nose to the grindstone, and she beats the bushes, and she figures it out. You know, and a lot of what we know has been solely because of her efforts. You know, she doesn't take no for an answer, and so if that door closes, then another door somewhere down the road is going to open, and she'll find it. And she gets out there and she networks and she asks the hard questions, and she gets the answer. You know, she's a tenacious girl. And she gets out there, she gets it done. And from a service member standpoint, that's what you need in your corner. From anyone who has a situation, that's what you need. You know, whether you're the person that can take it upon themselves to get out there and do it, you know, you have to fight for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself. And if you're not in that place, you need to find someone, you need to get somebody to be in your corner, someone to get in your immediate circle that you can physically reach out and lay a hand on and say, hey, this is what I need. And then that individual has to, hands down, get out there and do it. You know, if your support staff, if your treatment staff is not giving you the answers you want, fire them. You know, fire them and find somebody else. Somebody will treat you. The caveat to that is you have to want it. You have to want it. You can't ask someone to go out there and fight for you and do all these things that you require if you're not going to accept it. So instead of waiting until you're in a desperate situation and you feel like the world is closing in on you, the best time to do it is when you're having a good day, when you're having a series of good days, and you can actually get out there and wake up in the morning and go face the public. You know, that's when you need to start setting up reserves for yourself. So when you start stumbling and you fall off the wagon, you've got something to land on. And you don't find yourself in a situation where you're desperate. And you've got someone that you can physically lay a hand on to help you up. So I encourage people like me to find somebody, to latch on to somebody. And don't be afraid to tell them whatever it is you're dealing with. And then if you're going to be that person that someone's going to lean on, then, you know, my advice is be a friend. You know, if someone's going to lean on you, you know, if you're going to put yourself out there and say, hey, I want to be your friend, be a friend. Be a cotton-picking friend. You know, Gina says, be specific in what you want to offer. And I agree. But I will also say, don't feel put out when that person comes to you. You know, service members have, when they come back, they have trust issues. Huge. And people in my situation across the board have trust issues. And so if you're going to be a caregiver, if you're going to be a friend, if you're going to be an advocate, you have to bridge that trust issue first and foremost. That person has to know that they can confide in you, and you're not going to be two-faced. You're not going to go out and talk trash about them behind their back like, oh my God, I have to tell someone what this person said. That's a serious no-go. Be a friend. And sometimes being a friend is being there at 2 in the morning. You know, when this person is suicidal, when I'm suicidal, you know, I got to be able to put my hand on somebody and say, I need you. If I'm suicidal, then I'm glad, I am thankful to high heaven that someone knows me well enough to realize that without me having to come to them. That's what, you know, if you're going to be a friend, if you're going to be a caregiver, you have to know that individual. You have to educate yourself. You have to be and know and do everything. And you have to do anything with nothing. Find out all you can about the person that you want to service. And then, if they're dealing with something, find out all you can. Because you have to be able to speak for those individuals at times when they can't speak for themselves.